Hello fellow collectors, thanks for clicking on the video. I hope you're all doing really well today. Like with many YouTubers or collectors, you realise at some point that your content or focus seems to be on the collecting at the expense of actually watching or discussing the wonderful films that we buy. With that in mind, I had been planning a series of videos where I went through and talked about my 2021 in films. But once I started putting that together, due to the length and huge scope that it started to take, I thought it would just make more sense to start afresh from 2022 instead, and to do something of a monthly roundup of what I've watched. Now, I'm no critic, but I thought I'd like to do some more videos just talking about the films I've been watching and actually enjoying the things that I've been buying, rather than just videos about unboxings or hauls. So with that in mind, let's jump into the video. And what I've done here, I've watched in January 2022 films. So I've picked just a selection of my favourites that I watched during this last month. So, without further ado, let's get into the first one here, which is Devil in a Blue Dress from Indicator. I picked this up in the last Indicator sale, I think, was it in November? And this came a little bit later, so I only watched it this month. Now, this is an exquisite neo-noir, directed by Carl Franklin, starring a young and very handsome Denzel Washington and a young Don Cheadle. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that film noir is easily one of my favourite genres, and this film was just such a wonderful vision of it. It had all the elements that I love about noir and just weaved them together expertly, along with having a solid and intriguing mystery to unravel. Denzel here is such an engaging screen presence and really plays the role to perfection. Absolutely top-notch film. Next up is Life is Sweet from Mike Leigh. And this was actually the first Mike Leigh film that I've ever seen. And I can safely say that I cannot wait to see many more. It's kind of difficult to describe this film better than the title does itself. Life is sweet, and that is exactly what the film is about. I went really through the whole gamut of emotions watching this one, including tearing right up, literally almost being physically sick. And if that doesn't intrigue you, I'm not sure what does. There are some really wonderful performances here, and overall, it's just funny, moving, gross at times, engaging, and really just sweet. Next is Eye of the Needle. This was one that I got given for Christmas, and if anyone saw that, my end of December haul, I've actually switched the case out to a clear case now, so it fits in with the other BFIs. But around Christmas time, I think the BBC was showing it. I caught about half the film The Eagle Has Landed, which is another World War II drama that also stars Donald Sutherland. And coming off the back of that, I was really keen to see this one. And I can happily say that it did not disappoint at all. Particularly the second half of this one I thought was taut and thrilling, tense and shocking. Overall, just a thoroughly enjoyable film. I was disgusted, hurt, emotional and relieved, and even yelling at the screen with this one, which is pretty rare for me. It was a solid, merciless spy thriller, and I was completely thrilled. Definitely a bit graphic, and it felt like watching it, obviously I wasn't around when this film was made, but it felt like it would have been very graphic for the time as well. But even so, it was still shocking to me now. I mean, there is a trail of sort of bodies that you don't expect. No one is really safe here, and it really builds up Sutherland's character to a terrifying and capable spy who will do absolutely anything to complete his mission. I will say that the sort of setup or backstory here I thought could have been done a lot better. But honestly, I mean, it does the job well enough and gets you straight into the film. So yeah, a really wonderful World War II thriller. Next up is another BFI title that I got a couple months back, and it's I Start Counting from David Green. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one as well, obviously. Really wonderful film showing adolescence and really showing a lot of the sort of silliness or even close to madness that we sometimes find ourselves thinking and feeling at that difficult young age. It drew me in expertly and gathered into something really quite tense and almost terrifying. Another incredibly impressive performance from Jenny Agutter. She really captivates the camera, and it's definitely a film that I intend to revisit and enjoy again. Truly excellent British film that more people should get their eyes on. And there's a wonderful extra on this disc as well, where Jenny Agutter recalls acting in this and talks about sort of her experiences and getting into the industry, which was really interesting and wonderful to hear her speak. Next up is Sullivans Travels. This one threw me for a loop a little bit, honestly. I don't know if anyone has seen Black Bear with Aubrey Plaza, which I think came out in 2020, which is a film I absolutely adored. But this film, in some part, reminded me of that, in so much as it takes a turn that was just completely unexpected. I want to say that this is almost a meta look at what I assume was Preston Sturges's idea for making a film, which he then turned into a real film, I'm guessing. It was a really fun, sweet comedy. Veronica Lake is, of course, gorgeous and has fantastic chemistry with the slightly cantankerous Joel McRae. It begins as one thing and ends as something really quite different, and I was really unprepared for that change in tone. However, I felt like it was an incredibly poignant one, and ends up being an important message. This one felt like, I'm guessing it might have been an important film for Hollywood at the time, but really an engaging and thought-provoking one for us now, as well as one that definitely made me laugh out loud and was just a really fun watch, as well as being so poignant. The last film I want to mention is from this gorgeous Bong Joon-ho box set from Curzon Artificial Eye, and it's Barking Dogs Never Bite, the first one from this set. Now, I could easily talk about all the films here. They are absolutely top-notch, but Barking Dogs Never Bite is a slightly different tone to the rest of his work, and it's something that I really enjoyed. At the same time, light-hearted and also a bit macabre, it skirts into the line of what I thought was almost surreal. It's a kind of slice of life, but then not really. It's funny, but then more serious. I think a good way to describe it is perhaps bittersweet. Having seen a couple of his films before, it was just not something I was expecting from the director, and it was a welcome change. Also, though I'm probably butchering her name, Bae Doona was really wonderful in her role and mixed that perfect youth and apathy along with agency and sweetness. And it just really took me on a journey, this one, and it was thoroughly enjoying. So definitely one that I would recommend, particularly if you enjoy his work and maybe haven't seen it, because it is different to the other films, especially very different to the other films on this box set. But nevertheless, a really wonderful movie. A couple sort of honourable mentions that I wanted to make. Because as I say, I watched 22 films in January, and I wasn't going to make an incredibly long video talking about them all. But just to mention some others that I did enjoy as well were Polytechnique, which was, I think, the first film by Denis Villeneuve, which was, my goodness, harrowing and visceral is the only way I can describe that. Really intense, an intense watch, as you could probably imagine. And I also wanted to mention Where Eagles Dare, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and it stuck a bit more closely to the book than another of, I think it is Alistair MacLean, who wrote Ice Station Zebra as well. The film and the book are very different with that one, and I felt the film, because it didn't stick closely enough to the book, didn't do as well. But Where Eagles Dare, I felt stuck more closely to the book, and it was actually another wonderful World War II thriller that I thoroughly enjoyed, with Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood as well. But that sums up my favourite watches from January. Hopefully you'll agree that they are some absolutely top-notch films here. It was a very good way to start off my film journey this year. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.